What's up guys, it's Digi Down Under. My name is JP, otherwise known as Jordan. Today I'm going to be doing a deck profile for you guys on my SHIVAMON list, previously featured in our most recent gameplay video of SHIVAMON versus Yellow Hybrids. SHIVAMON's obviously a pretty new deck for BT8. I've been having a lot of fun with it so far. It's got a pretty sort of creative playstyle. It's a little bit different to a lot of decks that are currently floating around in DigimonTCG. Kind of a passive win con, which is something different, but it's a lot of fun to play. There's been a lot of support on that video of ours most recently, and I wanted to give anyone who's interested in playing SHIVAMON a little rundown of what I'm playing. So you guys can go from there and sort of tinker with the lists accordingly. I think there's a lot of room to change the playstyle based on what you want to do with the deck. Without any further ado, let's get into it. Eggs, we are playing 4 copies of BT8 Agumon. When this Digimon becomes unsuspended, gain 1 memory. Obviously on paper it already has great synergy with SHIVAMON, so when we're unsuspending we can trash 1 security, gain 1 memory. If we get more than one of these in play and we have a memory fixer in play, that really helps the deck, going upwards of 3 to 5 memory every turn. And memory in green's really handy. Stuff can be expensive, but we can do a lot with a little, so it just means that every memory you get is more advantage to take control of the game with. Rounding out eggs, we're playing 1 copy of Pinamon. If you attack an opponent's Digimon, trigger draw 1. Always handy for an extra draw. It doesn't come up all the time where you're not necessarily always attacking over Digimon, but it does happen now and then when you suspend your opponent's Digimon and use yours to swing over them. We need 5 eggs in this deck. Obviously, it's a green deck. For anyone who is experienced with green, you can chew up your eggs pretty quickly using your Mimi Tamers. So 5 is always important to have. That 5th slot could be changed out, but that's what I'm playing. Next up, into rookies, we play 4 copies of BT8 Agumon. 2-drop rookies are always good. You could play Gobbly, you could play, I think there's a new one now, the Pencil. I can't remember what his name is. But I'm playing Agumon. 2-drop is good. Play it. We can use it for a Digisorption effect, which is always handy. And it just helps us sort of, keep that board pressure on. So 4 copies of Agumon. Next up, we are playing 4 copies of the new BT8 Pulsemon. This is actually part of the sort of SHIVAMON line that came out with BT8. So Inherit is all turns, this Digimon gets plus 1000 DP for each of your other suspended Digimon. The rest of the SHIVAMON line has exactly the same effect. So it helps make your SHIVAMONs pretty big, and when all your Digimon are suspended, it means that they can't play option cards, so now their only option to get rid of Shiva is to swing over it with a Digimon or use a Digimon effect to delete it. So if your SHIVAMON is now upwards of 15,000 DP, it means that they really struggle to get rid of it. So that helps a lot with surviving with SHIVAMON. Next up, we are playing 4 copies of Terriermon. Pretty handy card to have on board. Always, just a good classic card. Stops our opponent gaining memory. There are a few decks in the BT8 format that are going to utilize gaining some memory, like Imperial Dramon. And so Terry is always good to have around for that. Just generally good one to sort of drop. If we need to play something for Digisorption, we get a little bit of value for playing it by stopping our opponent gaining memory. Rounding out level 3s, we are playing 2 copies of Starter Deck Palmon. When attacking, if you attack an opponent's Digimon, this Digimon gets plus 2000 DP for the turn. Again, it won't always come up, but it does here and there help that extra 2000 DP by, we're using some option cards, we might be using one of our own effects to suspend an opponent's Digimon. And we need to swing over it. Palmon helps us get there. So, 2 copies of Palmon to round out level 3s. Moving on to level 4s, we are playing 3 copies of the new BT8 Kogamon dual color card, purple-green. This is a lot of fun to use. Really cool card. Inherit is just flat retaliation. No other conditions for that. So again, going back to what I was saying before, if your opponent can't play option cards because your whole board is suspended, then they have to try and swing over SHIVAMON. And retaliation as an Inherit just means that if they want to use their level 6 to swing over you, they are going to have to sacrifice that level 6, which hurts them. So it sort of shuts down another avenue of getting rid of the SHIVAMON You probably could play 4 copies of Kogamon, but I have been enjoying 3 because I like the level 4s in this deck so far, sort of all the different effects you have. So next up, we are playing 3 copies of Exomon. This is also part of the SHIVAMON line. The Inherit is the exact same as Pulsemon. When Digivolving, main effect is you may suspend one of your Digimon to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So that does come in handy if you have, something like a SHIVAMON already in play. That's a free way to suspend your SHIVAMON, or you can use suspend this guy and swing over it with the SHIVAMON. But it's just, no conditional level requirement on that. It's just suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So that's good. Next up, we are playing 2 copies of Namakemon. Again, another new BT8 card. A lot of new cards in this deck that we are testing out. Namakemon's main effect is you may suspend this Digimon to reveal the top 3 cards of your deck and add a green Digimon card among them to your hand. This is really good, obviously, for getting us out of a bricky hand or just finding the pieces that we might be missing to keep our game going. And also, obviously, this deck has a lot of synergy with suspending our own Digimon, so that really helps. Namakemon's just good for suspending, keeping our own Digimon suspended, and unbricking us at the same time. Finishing it up for level 4s, we are playing 2 copies of Arbomon. It's always good to have a hybrid around to get you out of a pinch. For anyone who did watch the gameplay video of Shiva versus Yellow Hybrids, my double hybrid play actually won me the game against Jake. And obviously with Mimis, we are going to be chewing up eggs quicker than the average Digimon deck. So Arbomon sort of extends the play. If we run out of eggs, we can evolve Arbomon, whether it's just to swing for game or evolve Arbomon on a Mimi and then go from there into a 5 into a 6. It keeps our game alive without having to hard play Digimon to stay in it. So finishing it up with 4s, moving on to 5. So we are playing all Digisorption at level 5. So we are playing 4 copies of the new BT8 Pistamon. I'm not sure how you say that, but I've been saying Pistamon. Digisorption -2, so it goes into it for 1 cost if it's suspended or suspend another Digimon, similar to the old level 5s like Blossomon. It does cost 1 as opposed to costing nothing, which is a little bit different, but otherwise the Inherit is the same as the rest of the line, plus 1,000 for each of your other suspended Digimon. So you can see how with Pulsemon, Exomon, and Pistamon in one line, we instantly can make our SHIVAMON upwards of 14, 15,000, depending on how many Digimon we have in play that are suspended. Next up, we have 3 copies of Blossomon from BT3. Digisorption for 3, so reduce cost by 3. Always good in this deck. That's probably its biggest drawback, is that it can be a little bit slow. So Digisorption 5s help us stay in the game by being able to go there quicker into our 6s and stuff like that. So we're playing 3 copies of Blossomon, and then to finish it out, we are playing 1 copy of Argomon because we can only play 1. Exactly the same effect with the added Inherit to play a level 3 green Digimon from your hand suspended when attacking. So, if we can swing, play a Terriermon, or just another rookie that we can use to then suspend and go into something else, there's a lot of value out of that. So all Digisorption at 5 because we need to go into our 6s as quick as possible. Moving on to 6s, we are playing 4 copies of SHIVAMON, the boss monster of the deck. This is why we're playing this deck. This card's really, really cool. It's a lot of fun. Opponent's turns, while all your Digimon are suspended, opponent can't use option cards. And when this Digimon becomes unsuspended during your unsuspend phase, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. So that's really nice. There's a lot of synergy there with, like I said, Argomon, you unsuspend, you trash the security, you gain a memory. If we're, multiple in play, the advantage just starts to pile. If we have 2 or 3, if we can get 3 SHIVAMONs in play, that is really, really tough for the opponent to deal with, because instantly the pressure becomes, well, we're going to trash 3 security, and then we can just attack with our Digimon next turn. So there's a lot to do with SHIVAMON, whether you unsuspend and then attack, or whether you use an effect to suspend it. Like I said, the creativity is up to you in this deck, but there's a lot of fun plays you can make with that. But yeah, SHIVAMON's cool. Next up, we are playing 2 copies of Nidhoggmon from BT4. Digiburst 4, suspend all your opponent's Digimon with 5,000 or less, then place all your opponent's suspended Digimon at the bottom. It is a board wipe bomb. It always has been. One of the best cards Green has access to. It's just good hard removal in terms of getting rid of opponent's Digimon. If they're going wide, we can punish them really hard. Even if it's just one Digimon, but it is their boss monster, we have, and they've swung at you, Even if they haven't swung, we do have options to suspend it, like our option cards or some Digimon effects. We can keep their Digimon suspended and clear them with Nidhogg. Rounding it out on Digimon altogether, we are playing one copy of BT5 Argomon. Now, this extra slot at level 6, I think there's a room to change around a lot of. I played this as a bit of a meta call because I knew that Yellow Hybrids was going to be quite strong. So I wanted to have an answer for that. So this suspends all your opponent's Tamers when Digivolving, and it's all turns your opponent's Tamers don't unsuspend. So it's really great against hybrid decks. I know some people were playing it in the BT7 format against hybrid decks. It's not as relevant now with, you know, some of the other decks not utilizing their Tamers as much. So I do think you could switch this out for something like Mega Gargamon or even the old Argomon that gains security based on all your suspended Digimon. There's a lot of different toolbox options I think you could change there, but I played Argomon because I knew Yellow Hybrids was definitely going to be around. That finishes it up for Digimon. Moving on to Tamers, we are playing 3 copies of our BT1 Mimi. This is one of the best Tamers in the game. It's a memory fixer, and if we have a level 5 or higher green Digimon in play, we can suspend this Tamer to hatch an egg, or we can suspend it to move a Digimon into from raising to play. 2 in play just helps us swarm the board so quickly. If we can get a SHIVAMON online and then just go Mimi and hatch and promote and hatch and promote and hatch and promote, the advantage just starts to snowball. And that's exactly what you want with this deck, is to be able to go into a lot of Digimon for cheap cost, and you want to be able to swarm your opponent so that you can just sort of apply so much pressure they have to deal with you. Next up, we are playing 2 copies of Green Memory Boost. Not much to be said there, it's pretty simple. Extra memory is always nice in this deck, and it helps us find the pieces we need. After that, because it's a green deck, we're playing 1 copy of Hidden Potential Discovered. This is always good in any green deck, but particularly in a green deck like this that specializes in suspending Digimon to gain effects and gain advantage. Hidden Potential helps this deck a lot go into something like Shiva or, you know, Nidhogg for no cost. It's always a good card to get you out of a pinch. And yeah, there's obviously a lot of value coming off of Hidden Potential suspending your own Digimon to reduce the cost by 5. Next up, we are playing 4 copies of the new BT8 Samadhi Santi option. This is a really cool card. It's a 1-drop. Suspend one of your Digimon to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers. Don't forget about the Tamer effect. It does come up, you know, if you need to shut down a hybrid swing for game or just something else that might, you know, stop them from furthering their play. That effect does also apply out of security. The other part of Samadhi Santi does say your opponent's card suspended with this effect can't unsuspend until the end of their next turn. This is important wording because you can't play it on a Digimon on your opponent's board that is already suspended. So if they have a suspended Digimon in play and you play that card, you can target it, but it will not achieve the can't unsuspend effect because it wasn't suspended with the option card. So that's important to know, but this is just a good card in general. Even if you don't have anything on your opponent's board to target, but you want to play it to suspend your Shivamon or suspend something else, you can. So it's a really, really good card. A lot of different versatile uses if you need to suspend a Digimon and then swing over it with another Digimon. Always handy. But yeah, Samadhi Santi's a pretty great card for this deck. And then finishing it up with the last card, we are playing 1 copy of Blasted Disaster from BT6. This card works similar to Crimson Blaze in BT8. Main effect, suspend all your opponent's Digimon, then gain 1 memory for each of your opponent's suspended Digimon. Now this is slightly different. Obviously, you do gain memory for each of your opponent's suspended Digimon, even if you didn't suspend them. So this can easily become a 3-cost, 2-cost if they're going pretty wide. You just play it, suspend all your opponent's Digimon, gain that memory straight back, and then if you follow that up with a Nidhoggmon or you just swing over it with all your Digimon in play, it's a pretty easy board clear. So yeah, really, really great card just for some of the wider decks in the format like Imperial and Mastermon. Is a bit of a tech card for me. I think you could change that if you to something else if you wanted to. But I like Blasted Disaster so far against some of the decks that tend to go 2 or 3 wide. Instantly, it's a 3-drop board wipe if you have a Nidhogg to follow it up. It's a really great card. But that rounds it out for the deck list for me. This is sort of a initial build that I came up with going into BT8. I have tested it a little bit, but I definitely would like to test it some more against stuff like Mastermon and Imperial that is just starting to pop up with the release of the starter decks here in Australia. But yeah, really fun deck. I'm enjoying it a lot. I think there's a lot of creative plays to be made. I know there's a lot of different builds you could try with this deck too. Some people are trying it with a hybrid base. I'm playing, pure green control. But yeah, I wanted to show you guys card for card what I was playing against Jake, so that you can sort of have an idea of how you want to take your SHIVAMON deck into the rest of the BT8 decks. But yeah, thank you for the support, guys. We really appreciate it. We got some gameplay videos coming out for you later on this week. We're really having a lot of fun with the BT8 decks. This format, I think, is going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next one.